Well, no, not yet.
No, not yet. What if we have to talk? Say
Resume. Okay. And we're going to go ahead, I think, and just get started, just so we can be sure we have enough time for everybody to get a chance to talk if they have questions or they want to talk about things. You know, this is just sort of Susan and I sharing what we do for our, well, I'm going to share what I do with onboarding and orientation. And Susan's going to share her exiting strategy. And I thought this was very appropriate and cute. And so I stole it a couple of years ago when I saw it. You know, the senior residents giving the interns a side eye. So one of the things, and I'm not going to go into a lot of the HR stuff because everybody does this differently, but the most important things are going to be that you get their diploma and that they get their training license. And you just want to be positive about those two things. Pretty much everything else is going to, you know, work itself out. You know, you are going to want to be sure they're in the system, obviously, so they can get their paycheck, but they will let you know if that doesn't happen. So the other two things are, you know, if they fell through a hole or a crack or something, that could be a problem. And you'll need that diploma, you know, later in their residency. They'll be asking you for it. So I try to keep anything they're going to ask me for later, even though they should have it, but sometimes they don't seem like they do. This is a spreadsheet. I just snipped it that is on the shared documents drive. It's called intern orientation. And a lot of coordinators, the reason it's not alphabetical or anything, and I could have sorted it, but I just didn't, went in and they just listed things that they could think of that you might want to be sure you talk to your incoming interns about, you know, and I actually looked at this before I created a slideshow that I use. I have a meeting with my residents, usually about a month before they come to campus. We just do a Zoom meeting and I go over all of this stuff. And I know they're not going to remember it, but I hope that they might remember hearing about it so that then they'll at least know, you know, that they can ask about it. I also give them a PowerPoint with all of this information. I mean, it's got, you know, all the phone numbers and all of it's got links to different pages on our website, things that, you know, they could find on their own, but it's going to take them time to find it. So this is good. And if you think of something that's not on this list, please feel free to go in and add it. And again, it's in the shared folder. And it's called intern orientation. It's a spreadsheet. This is just my first page of when I meet with them, and I just, you know, welcome them, and then I go into telling them everything, and I give them like information, additional things that were not on there, you know, local information that might be helpful, schools, and you know, things that I might know that they don't know, like things I've heard about. Well, this school's really good. This one's had some issues. You know, they'll appreciate that. Things about entertainment, and like when they come here, a lot of times they don't realize that we're really not all that far from the Keys. So it's kind of a nice like place to go on a vacation if they, you know. So I just kind of tell them things like that. I don't keep information about housing, but I think I've gotten it from other places in the past. Like I think our general surgery department had shared something with me. So, you know, anything you can share with them, or even just like about locations of housing, like most of the doctors live in this part of town, or this is not as popular a place to live, but it's less expensive and it's as convenient as anything else. Or maybe this is a kind of scary part of town. You might not want to rent an apartment there, or, you know, whatever the insight that you have. I give them information about getting around campus and the hospital. Again, these are things they can look up, but it's nice, I feel like, if it's all in one place. The dining options that they have, just so that they kind of know where they can eat and what is available. We have a lot of well-being, like, things at our institution level. So I share all that information with them. And even like perks, like we offer free Microsoft Office 365, and they have an unlimited Dropbox. So I tell them about those things because, again, unless somebody happens to mention it, they're not going to find out. But at least if they've heard me tell them, hopefully they'll remember, oh yeah, I don't need to buy Microsoft Office or whatever. I can get it free. And I give them the conference schedules, information about their general surgery rotations, information about holidays, because this is very surprising to a lot of people, but these kids, they haven't really worked usually. So they don't really know about holidays. I can tell you, I had people question me this year when I sent out the calendar and said that the Christmas Day holiday was on, I don't know, whatever it was, Friday this year. Well, no, Christmas is on Saturday. I'm like, yes, it's observed the day before when it's on the weekend. And they don't know these things. So I also actually give them a little tip, like when you schedule your vacation, if there's a holiday in that week, then you only use 4 days of vacation. Or Thanksgiving week is a nice time to take vacation because you're off on Thursday and Friday. So you can take 3 days and you can get a whole week off. These are things that they don't know yet. So, they appreciate that insight. I share with them the educational resources that we have. I have a lot of stuff that I share with them, SASP, the AUA updates. We also have some, institutional, like our librarian and things like that. So I give them all that information. I tell them, that we pay their AUA dues while they're here. And I give them information about, like if it's a female, that the Society of Women in Urology gives them a free membership while they're residents. And I just tell them all those things so that, if they're interested, they can do it. I make sure they know how to report issues or concerns. And then I just kind of briefly go over what's going to happen after their intern year, that they're going to start having expectations about scholarly activity, grand rounds. They may start going to meetings and kind of how we manage that. So, oh, well, there's a blank screen. I guess I had more than that. No, I guess I didn't have more than that. I guess that's the end of my slides. If anybody has anything again that you want to talk about any of this, I'm going to stop sharing the screen.
Steph, when you do this, do you actually have them come in on a certain day? And
no, I
just
do
sit
a
down with them,
Zoom.
or
I just do a Zoom with
Okay.
them. Yeah. I didn't used to do this, actually. I started it a couple of years ago because I thought, we have Zoom. So now it's easy and they're not as busy and they're not as bombarded in like May as they will be in June or July. And so I just find a day that everybody can do it. I try to do it on a day that Dr. Moy's here so he can talk to them a few minutes. And we just do it via Zoom. And, they pretty much just sit there and listen. But like I say, I feel like hopefully, and then I send them the thing, and I don't know if any of them ever look at it, but maybe they do. And again, I feel like if you hear something sometimes, then later down the road, when you think about it, you'll go, you know what, I heard something about that. So it hopefully will help them, even if they're not gonna, it's a lot of information. But anyways.
Well, our orientation lasts for days here, like literally a week plus. And so we meet with them quite a lot. And in fact, if they're able, they come and join us for grand rounds. If they're here in time for graduation, we'll invite them to graduation. But my colleague, Anna Peacock, created an awesome onboarding website for them. So she took all of the information that we go over with them and put in a website that is you know, available to them and to all the residents. And then we just sit down with them and literally go through all of it. A lot of that same stuff that you had, Stephanie. So that was really, really awesome. We just kind of like having them there in front of us. 'Cause like you said, we're never sure what they read and what they retain. So.
That's great. That's great. I would be hesitant to ask our web person to add a bunch of stuff, you know. I mean, I have her add some of this, but I think I might be pushing the boundaries of her patience with me if I ask for her to create a bunch more.
Yeah, we didn't ask for IT's help or web designer's help either. I'm just fortunate that she knows how to do all of that.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else have any questions, comments, or anything?
How much overlap is there in your orientation and the resident handbook, or what you're getting them?
Well, working on our resident. We don't give it out, and we haven't given it out since I've been here 7 years. I'm not, you know, I can't lie to you. So I started working on it as soon as I got here, and I did everything I could do. In fact, I created a handbook that had hyperlinks in it to our GME policies, and I did everything I could do. And then there was a lot of stuff I couldn't do. And so I kind of turned it over to Dr. Moy and Dr. Bain, and they were supposed to work on it, and bless their hearts, they just haven't, it hasn't been a high priority. And I'm going to tell you, I have only had one resident ask me for the handbook since I've been here. And I sent him what we had. I said, this is our work in progress. Here it is. But so in a way, what I do with them is sort of their handbook at this moment, because yeah, I mean, I don't generally, you know, that's not general knowledge. And but I'm not going to lie to you either and say, oh yes, we have a great handbook. You know, I can only do what I can do. And every time Dr. Moy says, you know, what do I need to do? Well, there's nothing really like urgent, but you know, we have the handbook and we have the goals and objectives, you know, but they're not fun things to work on. They're very tedious. And so I don't blame him for not jumping right in. He has very limited time. And again, it hasn't been an issue yet. So until it's an issue.
I agree, Steph, you're not the only one. I'm also still working on mine 12 years later. But, you know, if they ask for it, like you said, I send them what I have. And if there's any updates, you know, that's pretty much it. But I try to put them on MedHub. That has not been changed in the last 5 years. So
yeah. It's you know, that's one of those things. It's a very big undertaking, and even just keeping it updated really is, you know, it's not just a thing you can do in an hour or two. You know, you got to go through that whole thing, and there's a lot of stuff that might have changed, you know, clinically that you might not even know about. So you need your PD to look at it too. So, you know, fortunately for us, it hasn't been an issue. So I'm hoping, you know, we keep the residents happy enough that they're not complaining. We don't have a handbook. Anyone else? And for everybody that joined us late, we are recording. So you can, I'll be putting this on the YouTube channel, and so you can always go there and listen to it or whatever.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so last year, the interns got their scrub cards when they were onboarding, but they weren't activated till like a week later. I guess it takes a while to activate all of them. So there was a week where they didn't really have any access to scrubs. So I was wondering if your department has that issue, and it's tough for us at the VA because they have to wear VA issued scrubs with the VA logo on it. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do this year. If you guys have any stopgap solutions that you could recommend.
Is there a way? I mean, we start our onboarding pretty early and I get everything in pretty early so that for the most part, I have their fob, like a week or two usually before they get here and start. And so usually by day one, unless there's just some little glitch with it or something, they've got access to scrubs and to the, ORs and everything. So it could be that maybe, you could ask the people that are, because I don't, I just send the information, right? I don't manage it, but maybe ask the people, what could you do? What is there a way that you can get them things earlier so that they can get it done by then?
Does your GME office manage that for you?
Yeah, so that's where kind of the holdup is. The
Yeah.
GME office manages it, and they're handling a huge group of residents at once. So maybe I'll just befriend the scrub card person and see if she'll do me a favor a couple weeks earlier. Maybe that's just what I need to do.
Yeah.
We run into these issues too, because our institution will issue them their badges until oftentimes like the day before they start, and we can't order scrubs until they have a badge. So it just puts us in a bind, but we have been very, very vocal with our GME this year. And in fact, have set up a work group to talk through kind of all of these onboarding snafus, and make them well aware that this is something that has to be done weeks in advance, because you can't send a bunch of surgical residents out into the world, into the operating room, not have access to scrubs. It's embarrassing and ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
We have an actual counterpart at our VA. So, and they actually they give them a VA orientation. So at that time, everything is put together for them. I haven't had any trouble with that at our VA. I have it here at Loyola. So I keep extra scrubs in the resident room if they're that desperate where they need them. But other than that, yeah, that's how it works here.
Yeah, I have some extra scrubs too. I don't even know where they came from, but if anybody ever needs them, I can give them to them. So that's also something you could check into if there's a way you can put your hands on, 2 or 3 sets of scrubs and just keep them in a drawer in your office, and then you'd have them.
Okay, thanks everyone.
You were
Anyone
talking,
else?
you were talking, Stephanie, how you tell your residents, hey, if it's a holiday this particular week and you're on vacation, it doesn't go against vacation time. Well, we have a union and they basically don't get holidays. So if you're out for the week, it's 5 days vacation.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
I've had some pushback from residents. Like they didn't remember that. And so they, took all of their 20 days vacation all planned out and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So we have.
But they get 20 days of vacation?
Yeah, it's a union now.
Yeah, because ours get 15 days of vacation.
We
So,
used to-
yeah.
The surgery services had 15 days. But the union contract is 4 weeks, so 4 weeks. So
Wow.
what would happen for the surgical services, especially for, trying to have coverage, is that they would be able to physically be out for 3 weeks, and then the 4th week was an extra paycheck. But now the surgery services here have decided that everyone will get 4 weeks. So basically 1 week per quarter as they rotate through each quarter. But again, they don't get holidays.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stinks. But and the thing is, every institution is different. And those are things that, though, it's better for them to know early and plan for. And that's what I try to do. And in fact, that also makes me think, I also explain to them how we do our annual leave. I just tell them that, because what we do is usually in like early May, I send out an email. I say, look at the calendar, send me your requests. It's by PGY year. So the chief resident has priority and on the way down. So if the interns, they're actually kind of on their own schedule, so they're different, but generally, we can't have more than one resident out at a time. So somebody above you wants to be out, then you won't get the time off. We try to schedule them that way. We ask them to take a week at a time, unless there's a holiday in the week, and then they get, they can do that. But we found that, people couldn't take full weeks because there would be somebody who just took Friday off or Monday off or whatever. And that messed up the whole week, because we're not completely hard about the no more than one out, but we try real hard to stick to it for the most part, unless there's a really good reason. So anyway, I go ahead and explain that to them so that they'll know to be thinking about what leave they want to take and when they want to take it. And it's funny because at first they were kind of like, well, I don't know when I want to take leave, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, but you know what? If you decide on it, then you can make plans, and you're going to be off, and they don't complain about it anymore. At first it was just because it was new and different, but they know that I've got that time off. Nobody's going to take it away from me. So they can plan. They go to Europe all the time and all these places on their vacation, because they don't have to worry about it, and they can have plenty of time to plan it. So
They have to realize that that's what real life is going to be when they go into practice. They can't just say, oh, I'm going to be out next week. I mean,
Right.
I have a rule in my office, at least 3 months notice if you want out, not necessarily for the residents, but faculty, because we're booked at least 3 months in advance.
right.
I actually sent out my note this week to tell me, what do you want for vacation and meetings from July to December? So I can start blocking clinics.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. Anybody else? Anything? Not Susan, you want to share your screen?
Okay, I'm gonna try. This is my attempt here.
If it doesn't work, no problem. I have it. So.
Susan, did you get your hair done?
I did not. It's just a flat mess.
I've been looking at you like, she looks so different.
It's a flat mess. Okay, is this working? Does this look okay?
It is.
Is
You
it the
want
whole
to,
thing?
no, you want
There.
to play the slide. Yeah, do the slideshow.
Okay, there we
There you
go.
go.
There's
There
me.
you go. Yep.
Okay, so we're going to be discussing now exiting residence. And the things that I do, my list that I have for my chiefs that are leaving me, I send out this giant email with this is what you need to do before you leave. And the main thing is make sure to put all of your case logs, op logs, whatever you want to call them, on a flash drive. They don't realize when they go on to their next job that most of these places will want to know what they've done and if they can trust them to do certain surgeries. So if they can show them, yes, I've done a certain amount, and a lot of them, they don't want to go by the ADS that we print out. We have them actually sign their final case logs because it's just numbers. They want details a lot of times. They want to know what type of laser surgery did you do? What type of whatever. So I tell them, put all of your case logs, no matter what, as detailed as you possibly can on a thumb drive so that when you go to your next job, you'll have that. Make sure that's for us, we have to make sure that we graduate them in the ACGME website. Just make sure you go in at the end of June and graduate them, because otherwise they will stay in your system forever and you'll get dinged on it. Our VA, oddly enough, they request an exit eye exam before they leave. I don't know why. I found that very strange, but it's the government, so we do as they say. I have them hand in their keys, their pagers, their IDs, everything. A lot of them park in the garage and they always complain, how am I going to get out? But I just tell them, when you leave, just let the person know it's my last day and I had to give up my ID, and they'll just open it up for you. Nobody cares. They will do that for you. Some of them like to keep their lab coats, some do not. They usually wind up in the garbage if they don't take them, but yeah, that's that. And of course, the pagers get passed on to the PGY1, so I try to collect them as early as possible to hand them to my newbies. They have to contact payroll in regards to their last payment when it will be paid. If they are going to be getting a new bank account, which usually doesn't happen, but every once in a great while there is that problem. So they have to make sure to let their people, the people in HR know. The hospital online separation form, if you have something like this and that is your job, please do it. I happened to miss it last year, and one of my residents that moved to a different program got paid for the last 6 months. And we now have to go after him to get back pay. So we'll see how that works. So make sure that you do this. It could cause a lot of problems. Before they leave all their dictations, any notes that they've done, anything that they have to sign off on, make sure that they sign off on it, because otherwise you'll be getting hate mail from the OR. They'll come after you and ask you to get something done. Parking office, our residents unfortunately really have to pay for parking. So a lot of them just do auto pay, and I just tell them, please make sure to cancel it. Otherwise you'll be paying for parking that you're not using. So please make sure to cancel your auto pay. The NPI information, and I have to tell them because a couple of times they were like, oh, okay, I don't know what my house address is going to be. I'm like, no, never ever put your home address in the NPI information. This is public information. Anybody looks it up. You want your work information in there only. Make sure to tell them that, just so, because they don't know. They don't understand that. And of course, I use MedHub, so our GME office requests that all the evaluations, the final evaluation, get signed off on by both parties, PDs and the residents, and get uploaded into MedHub along with the final op logs. So that's pretty much all that we do here, and wish them a happy time at their new position.
Susan, when do they lose their email access? Because that's
They
another
sometimes do not.
thing. Okay, well, see,
I've had residents that were on it for at least 3-4 years after the fact, and we're still able to get in.
we used to do that too. And then one year we got a new operations manager, and our rules are that it stops like 30 days after they graduate. And
Some do. I think it really depends on who's doing it, because
Yeah.
some of our residents lose it, some of them do not.
so I always just tell them like early, like I literally just sent them an email, the chiefs last week, saying your access to email is going to end 30 days after June 30th. So on July 30th, it will happen that day. And so you need to be moving anything you want to move, or if you want to have an auto reply that goes out, you need to put it on, early, so that people will see it before you're gone, because once you lose it, it's gone, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Ours ends on midnight on June 30th. And that's it.
Oh,
boom.
wow.
That's fast.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, I seen Denise, you put a message June 23rd. Wow, that's even sooner.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's way soon. Yeah, ours goes all the way through, and sometimes it's at the end of July where they lose it, and
Wow.
sometimes they have it for years afterwards.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I've had residents jump in on grand rounds because we use the same Zoom.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to see everybody.
And of course that we're glad, right? We don't mind that. But,
Exactly.
yeah, and honestly, I think it's ridiculous that I understand if I'm an employee only and I'm leaving this job and I'm not taking anything from this job to where I go,
Right.
And to be honest, if I know I'm getting another job as a coordinator and I want some of the information that I've created, I've already thought to send it to myself or something.
Right.
But so for them to end my access, I understand. But to be honest, these residents, they're working with faculty on research, and sometimes things don't pan through before they graduate and they're still involved months later.
Right.
And so there's a lot of stuff that, and I mean, my attitude is, what are they going to do? Why is it a problem for them to have a UFL email?
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
Well, when our kids exit, I have to take down all their permanent residence, where they're moving to, where they're going to be located, and then a personal email address
Mhm.
so that I can share it with everybody. So that's how they can contact them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
that's how-
try to
that's
do
how
that,
works.
but half the time it's just the email address.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we get
majority of
all
the
of that too, but
Yeah.
I have it, but that doesn't mean everybody else has it. And I
Right.
don't just share it with everybody. I share it with anybody who asks me for it, but unless they ask for it, I'm not going to send it to everyone because everyone doesn't need it.
Well, the only reason we use the email addresses is because usually at the AUA, the chair likes to have like a gather of
Yeah.
all SUNY Upstate ex residents or whatever. So he just sends out an invite for a gather during the AUA, and
Yeah.
Right.
that's pretty much the only reason. That's why, I don't know, I try to keep up on their actual physical addresses, but they move so much that it's like, because a lot of times they'll go into fellowship and then they'll finally get a new place. And I figure as long as we have the email address,
Right.
that's good enough.
Right.
And nowadays they use their cell phones a lot for texting.
Right.
So that's the other thing where everybody's got their information. So it's not a,
Right.
Exactly.
And the cell phone number is rarely going to change. Most
Yeah,
people
that
get
really
very
changes.
attached to their
Yeah.
cell phone number and they don't
Yeah.
want to change it. So.
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Thing that, anything about graduation itself, does anybody have any? Because I noticed in the title, it said something about graduation. So if anybody has any questions or comments about graduation, we can talk about that.
Well, I'm fortunate enough not to have to do it.
Lucky
Yeah.
girl.
Oh, I don't have to either, actually. I just have to order some plaques and stuff, but that's all. I don't have to organize it.
Yeah, I'm just, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, I
having-
know. I'm not a party planner and I don't want to be a party planner. So thank
I'm-
goodness we have a party planner in our staff. So
I'm doing it well, I've done it every year, but now on top of that, I have to plan the retirement party for the most recent chairman. So as I said to the event people where we're having it, it's like planning a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Plus I have to do my own son's graduation.
Great.
It's like we're going away, thank God, next week. My sisters are taking me away to Florida for a week. And once I get back, all hell would be breaking loose.
Catherine, did you have a question? Your hand's up.
Yes. I had a question about graduation, if you're willing to share. There's been a lot of conversations in our department about how much graduation should cost and who should be paying for it. So currently we have a little alumni donation fund that we use to fund graduation, but that pot of money is like running out. And so there's just been a lot of back and forth about whose responsibility that is financially. So I was just curious if your university contributes anything, if your GME pays for it, or if it just comes out of your department budget. And maybe this is like too much information to share. I don't know if you're comfortable, but like what your actual budget is for graduation.
We don't have a
Department.
budget because my
Yeah.
boss likes to put on the big show. So we really don't have a budget for that. We try to keep, I try to keep it down. But he, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, however you look at it, he likes to invite the entire department. All of the nurses that they work with, people from the VA, people from all over. So it's almost to the point where I'm like, isn't this about the residents graduating? Because now all of a sudden the lab people are starting to bring in their graduate students into the mix. And
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
come on, we have 3 graduates. Now we have a fellow who also has to be joined in on
Right.
this. And So we usually run somewhere between 120 to 150 people for the graduation parties. And that's sit down dinner. So open bar. So you can imagine.
We actually used to do that with all those people, 150 or plus people, until COVID. And then when COVID happened, one year we couldn't even have a graduation. Then the next year we had a very small one with mostly just the residents, faculty, and maybe like one or two people the residents invited. And then we've grown it a little bit more, but now we've kind of still kept it smaller. So we don't have like everybody attend anymore. But we still spend like $25,000.
Yep.
And it's the department that pays it.
Yes. Department does pay for it.
We used to have two events, one that was chief focused. So it was sort of the people that they work closely, like they picked the list, and then we had a separate graduation. But we've since merged the two. So we're prioritizing the people that have been working with the residents. Like, yeah, we met with our program director a week or so ago just to cut the list, and it's still 150 to 175 people. Once you invite all the faculty plus one.
Yeah.
And then the residents each have 7 to 8 people that they want to invite. So, and our budget's about the same. It's around $20,000. So it's part of the residency budget, but I mean, obviously the department pays, subsidizes us, but it's actually in our budget every year. So.
MJ, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to give my input on graduation. So for my program, we have about 150 people. Each resident that is not graduating only gets a +1, whereas those who are graduating, we don't limit how many they get to invite, but it's generally a table. So what would be them, their spouse, children, so about 10. And then as far as faculty, we invite the faculty who work with the residents, not just all faculty. And then if my chair decides that he wants to invite the entire department or extras, anything over 10,000 he pays from his discretionary funds. So it works out really well.
I was gonna say, we do something similar, where it's like over 12, then they all chip in. Mainly it's for the alcohol and whatnot, because that gets pretty hefty. But this year we're kind of limited. They're making us combine the fellows and the residents graduating together. So I'm going to be planning a bigger one, but there's more limitations. They're just our institution's doing some cost reduction. So should be quite stressful this year, along with we're doing a different venue that's breaking tradition that's been here for so long. So yeah, it should be interesting.
Good luck with that. Ouch.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, it's a coming to headaches. It's just, everyone has the tradition, and the people graduating know what that tradition is. And it's going to be different. It's going to be nicer and bigger, but, it's not going to be the nice chief graduation. It's going to be the fellows. And so everyone's kind of all wee-weed up about that, but I think it'll work out fine. It's just what they're used to. Change.
Yeah.
Change. They just,
Yeah.
nobody really likes change, right?
No.
They're always suspect, at least, right?
Yeah.
No way it could be as good as it was. But a lot of times they find out it is, it's fine. And, so it's just 1 year of pain. And then the next year hopefully it'll be good.
Well, I like that idea. MJ, was that you or somebody that said they have the table? Like, we usually just do tickets for extra, like you get a number of guests, but like, I like the idea of doing a table of like however many's at that table is what you get. And if you want more, I guess you can get another table. I don't know. I just have to find a way to limit the numbers.
It helps.
We used to let them do a table too. We used to.
Yeah,
Now
it
we
helps.
don't.
It helps to do like a seating chart, only because
Ooh.
people don't like to RSVP. And
Right.
I run into year after year, people show up. So in order to make them feel uncomfortable because you don't have anywhere to sit that's assigned, they RSVP now, which helps me with keeping costs down, and we don't have extra food and extra things, whereas no one wants to take, and then I'm loading up my car because I paid this extra $600 or things like that. And then with alcohol, we always have some faculty member put up their credit card. So they get so many drink tickets. And then anything after that, faculty normally take turns picking up the cost.
We had one of our graduation party. The residents had $20 shots. I was like, at least $20 shots. I'm like, all right, this has to stop.
Well, of course, now you could tell your people that bring your alcohol, not to bring $20 shots with
Yeah, I
them.
know. It just, I couldn't believe it. It just, and it was like,
I can't
it was
believe
like
it either.
half the liquor bill. And I'm like, I'm toying with the idea of drink tickets again. So we'll see what happens.
Our chair has told us that he only allows beer and wine, so we don't do hard liquor at all at our events, and that does tend to keep things down.
I tried that, but then one of the attendings complained, so we had to open the bar. Because he doesn't want to be the bad guy, you know, and it's like, come on, we have to keep it down somehow, but yeah, whatever. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see the screen. Okay. Any other questions or any comments on stuff?
Any questions about anything in general that that's bothering you or causing you a headache or keeping you up at night or whatever?
Does somebody want to take over my medical school clerkship position here?
Girl, I got to do that too. What's the problem? All you got to do
I
is
do too. I have to do it too.
They kill me.
I'm hoping that's the next thing. I'm hoping I can
Oh,
offload.
God.
I offload my shadowing stuff
Oh,
to our student worker, but she just went MIA because they don't.
can you blame her? Do you blame her?
And so now it's not really back on me because actually when I told the department administrator that, you know, it wasn't getting done.
Yeah.
And there was somebody who was wanting, our PA actually was wanting some particular person. So I said, I'll go ahead and do it for this one person and just let everyone else know who contacts me that we're working on finding someone. So I did not offer to take it back.
It's brutal. It's utterly brutal. These kids feel like they're so, I don't even have a nice word.
Entitled.
Yes, thank you.
The med students don't bother me, but these
No.
Yeah,
the
the shadowers.
undergrads, oh my gosh, they are just like, you know, flaky, first of all, you know, and you got to, you know, oh, I only have, you know, this small little window that I can do it. And
Yeah.
well, it's not what we have available. And, you know,
Can
and then
you
they-
accommodate me?
you know, it's just like, and then, oh, we've had them show up. I mean, like initially when I first started it, I thought, okay, you know, they know they're going like to a doctor's office. Not gonna, I didn't even think about that fact. I dress decent to go to the doctor, right? I don't wear my flip-flops and, you know, a muumuu or something. They showed up in like, one guy showed up in shorts, flip-flops, and a cowboy hat.
Wow.
And my department administrator called me because she was over there working at the time and said, we're going to need to be giving them some dress code information before they come.
I actually give out dress code
Oh, I
information
do. I
before
do
they
now.
start because we
And
had
I
one
have-
girl show up with 4-inch heels and want to go into the OR. And the guy's like, not with those shoes, you're not.
And we had somebody else who one of my faculty members was like, you know, I'm just not going to be able to do this anymore because I had this one person shadowing. He said she was just constantly writing stuff down and it was like really distracting him. And, you know, they don't understand that shadowing actually means you are a shadow. Shadows don't talk. shadows don't make noise. Shadows don't move around a whole lot, they just kind of stand there in the background. And that's, they don't seem to understand that.
Do you
So-
guys, do any of you also with your like AI rotations, are they all urology students? Because suddenly I'm starting to get OBGYN students coming through.
They need to fill in their gaps because they missed a deadline or something, and then, oh my
Gotcha.
God, we see urology will take us for 2 weeks, so they have no interest.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
burdensome.
it
It's
is
just-
because it's,
it
I
is.
mean, all of a sudden they're jumping on now. All of a sudden I have 3 in 1 4-week rotation. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You need to come at a later date because
Yeah, well, I had an OBGYN med student ask me about doing one, and I just told them, I said, you're gonna need to do it when nobody else is.
right. Okay.
Because we've already, and when we're not super
Yeah.
busy or whatever, and she was actually very nice about it,
Okay.
but I said it's gonna need to be after all of our externs come through and all of
Yep.
that. And
Okay.
because if you're not applying to urology, then you can do it anytime. She
Right.
said, no, I'm not applying to urology, because she's interested in like Urogyn,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so, and I understand, that it could be beneficial, but I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
put anyone else at a deficit for that, so.
And I didn't mean to change the subject, ladies. I know
No.
we're
No
supposed to be
worries.
working
No
on
problem.
another.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I feel like the shadowing has just exploded as of late. And I understand with COVID, they couldn't, but it's gets to be a
It's
little much.
ridiculous.
Yes.
We used to get like 1 or 2 people a season, right? A semester maximum. That was a lot if we had like 2 people in a semester. Now I am contacted so often by, and just so people, they're not even, not even necessarily pre-med. I may be wanting to go pre-med. And so I just want to know if I want to be a doctor or not, and I'm just like,
And one of the things that they have told me that scared, like, I was like, I cannot believe this, is that I've had numerous of them that I do believe are pre-med say that there are schools that are requiring them, and maybe that's just them blowing smoke at me, to have like 80 hours of shadowing time. And I'm like, that is insane. That's insane.
Dr. Moy has told me that a lot of them do have to have a certain number of hours shadowing to apply to medical school.
That's what medical school is. Like, hello, you can't kind of go to medical school before you go to medical school.
Right. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Finally, our dean's office, I just found out, because the girl that was doing it, I had told her to contact the dean's office and ask if they can shadow in the OR again, because they had stopped and they were only letting them shadow in clinic. And it's really pretty disruptive. Our clinics are really busy and it's kind of disruptive. And so really most of the doctors would rather have them in the OR, because then they actually do just kind of stand there and watch, and they don't think they're going to do anything or say anything or whatever. And so I guess she never did check on it. So I just checked on it and found out that they can go into the OR now. So I'm at least going, well, at least, it's easier to get them that. Although Dr. Moy told me it's kind of intense for these undergrads. Like they don't, like a med student has seen some blood and guts, but these undergrads may not have ever seen anything. So that can be disruptive if someone faints or something, in the OR.
And falls on that Mayo table, because apparently if you touch that Mayo table, oh dear God, that is the end of it. So I would hate to be the poor undergrad that's standing there and just goes, oh no, touch the table, everything's contaminated.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's terrible. Oh.
So yeah, we talk all the time about whether we should even post shadowing. But
We've had a lot of shadowers this year, the urology interest group in the medical school and all of that. And some students that are in like the medical science, master's programs. And now the hospital has mandated that if they are going to be with us more than a certain number of days, like say 3 days, they literally have to be brought on like they're an employee.
Oh, wow.
You can't believe, like, I mean, getting immunizations, TB, Corey checks. They have to do all of these tutorials online, like any new
Wow.
employee. I'm like, and I've,
Well,
reached to the
that's a
school.
nightmare for you. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
Because it'll weed out some people who just
Right.
don't want to go to the trouble. They're not that serious.
Well, we've had that for the longest time. If it's more than 3 days, then you have to pretty much get them to the,
And I'm-
get them to the clinic and have them checked out and shots and all this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But if it's less than 3 days, that's fine, because they want them then to get an ID. And like, for example, we have visiting doctors after the AUA, Dr. Nikolovsky, who's our GURS guy, he invites his buddies from Mexico to come here and spend a week. And it's like, you know how much paperwork that is for me? But that's what they do. And I have to send them all the documentation and they have to fill it all out. And
it's a lot of work. And I've been like reaching out to the dean's office because even our own BU students, they're making them go through this. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's the same campus. It's all of us together. And they're saying, no, they don't have to. And I'm saying, well, BMC is not letting them because they need a BMC ID to get in the OR. And unless they get cleared by BMC, you ain't getting an ID.
but that's only if they're there for more than 3 days, right?
Yeah. For shadowing. I mean, when
Yeah.
they come through as, 3s and 4s, there's usually not.
The
as
other
much
thing that we
issue.
did, we have not only shadowing, but there's another one, I forget what it's called, where they come for like the whole month. And we tell them, you have
Is
to
it
pay
the
us.
observership?
The observership,
Yeah.
$4,000. You want to come here? It's going to be $4,000.
Oh, you guys.
Do you know how
charge-
fast
no.
that weeded people out? We don't get any requests for that anymore.
Yeah,
None.
we don't charge. So the only people here that have to pay are DOs. DOs have to pay. But no, but MD medical students do not have to pay if they're a medical student.
Susan, if they're going to come and pay $4,000 for an observership, are they getting actual credit for that for their
Yes.
school?
Yep.
Okay. So it's not like doing the 4th year elective.
No. Mhm.
Yeah, we just had somebody spend a month here from Ross University, which is, I think, in the Caribbean, I think.
Yes.
And we had to do an evaluation. So I'm guessing he was getting credit for it because he had to have grades and everything. But luckily, we don't have anybody else here except a couple of UF medical students, but it's not like, not like in the summer when we have a lot of externs and everything.
Right,
But,
right.
yeah. It's a
Yeah,
pain.
no, that helped out. Once we made them pay, it just stopped. Nobody wanted to anymore after that. So
So who did they pay? Your institution, your department?
yes. It was a $400 non-refundable down payment. And then, and they had to find their own place to stay. We wouldn't help them with a place to stay. They would have to have their own transportation. So it was a lot more than $4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And we
it was
don't give them a
lot.
place to stay. We don't help them with any of
No.
that. In fact, this guy I think it's this guy that was coming, or maybe it was another person that came like a week before. Do you have any information about where I could stay? I'm like, nope. And you're kind of waiting until the last minute here.
There's always Airbnb, buddy.
That's the whole thing. Nobody's ever even asked me recently because there is. It's like so easy for them to find Airbnb and whatever,
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, you're lucky you got to come, because if it was up to me, I'd say, it's too much trouble.
Catherine, where is there a spreadsheet? I never saw that.
Yeah, so my residents told me about it. I think it kind of exists on the down low.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a spreadsheet for them to say, hey, I'm visiting this university. If you're visiting my town, let's swap for a few weeks. So I'll see if I can find it and I'll
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even know it
Yeah.
existed.
Yeah, that's definitely, because that could be helpful for us if we want to share information, you know? So, yeah. We'll keep it on the urology coordinator's download, Catherine.
There you go.
Alrighty, anybody else, anything?
In the exiting residence bucket, you guys are giving them a copy of their file as well, right? Their residency file? No,
I've never given it unless they ask for it. I don't give it to them.
okay.
Mostly what they're looking for is just their op logs. That's pretty
Okay.
much it.
Never been asked for anything. I keep everything and they know it. And so
Okay.
I just tell them when they leave, if you ever need, you know, any of your step 3 stuff, your,
Yep.
you know, any of that stuff, I have it. And a lot of it we do house in New Innovation. So they have access to that after they graduate.
Mm,
But they generally, it's easier for them. They'll just
Right.
send me a text or an email and say, oh, you know, do you have XYZ? And I'll be like, of course I do. Let me pull it out of my magic hat.
Yeah.
okay.
And,
Okay.
you know, they
One thing
think
I
I'm
do want to say
amazing.
though, which I forgot to mention, is it's very important to also make a copy of their graduation certificate. Because at some point in time, they are going to ask for it.
They will.
And
yes.
when I first started, I didn't, like the first 2 years, I didn't make copies of it. And they were like, Susan, how can, and I had to take a picture of it
Mhm.
and
Yes.
do it that way. So
Yeah.
that's something that's really important to have.
Somebody was telling me that they like gave them like several copies and all this stuff. And I said, I'm going to tell you what, they get the one in the frame and then
Yep.
I keep it and then I will email them a PDF.
Yes, exactly.
But just in case they need it immediately, but I can tell you, I get asked for it all
Yeah.
the time. And
In fact, we frame it and give it to them at the graduation party.
right, that's what we do.
And one
Yeah.
of my girls went on to fellowship, and halfway through her fellowship, she emails me. She forwards me an email looking for her graduate something, and she's like, "I don't think I ever got this." Like, it's in a frame hanging on your wall.
What I do is
So I forward her a PDF copy.
I make PDF copies, or like the GME office attaches PDF copies, but I also take a couple of them and I notarize them because sometimes they need notarized copies and give them to the residents.
Good idea. Catherine, thank you. I'm going to have to take a peek at that.
Well, it is almost 3 o'clock. If anybody has any other questions, let's go ahead and feel free to ask. Otherwise, we'll let you go and back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Thanks
Thank you,
again for
Susan.
organizing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank
all,
you
well,
all.
don't I feel sheepish? My calendar didn't change the time. I thought it was just starting, not ending. That's
Oh,
what I
well,
get for
we
being a
recorded-
newbie.
We recorded it, so
Yeah,
I'll
I
be
saw
putting it
that.
on the YouTube channel, so you can watch it there and you wouldn't have missed anything then. All right, everybody.
Thank you so much for
All right,
coming
thank
and
you.
putting
Thank
up
you so
with our
much.
presentation.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.